The other night I got slaughtered by Celtic fans for suggesting that perhaps a tilt at the Europa League this season would be better than the Champions League, and I'm about, I think, to say a similar thing. But if you're a Rangers fan or Russell Martin, how do I phrase this? Do you really want to make the Champions League, knowing that this Rangers team, even with 2 or 3 more signings, could take some real sore ones?
If you're Andrew Kavanagh or Parag Marath, you certainly do, because that's where the money is. And this is, this is the start of something new for Rangers, and it is going to take time, and it is going to take money, and it's going to take a little bit of patience if they want to get to where they ultimately see themselves getting to, and they need all the help they can get. Now, financially, would it be a big help? I've no doubt about that. But in terms of the team and its growth, then there is a reasonable argument there, Daniel, that it might be better for Rangers to get into the Europa League, where they know that environment. They seem to absolutely thrive on Thursday night football. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, and that's where, again, I come back to what I said right at the start. That's why congratulations to Russell Martin, because he's negated the need to go into that next qualification hurdle just to qualify for the Europa League, and that looked like, whatever way it turns out, it's going to be a really difficult tie. So Rangers have avoided that, and the worst case scenario now is that they go into the Europa League and they've got group stage football all the way up to Christmas. That's brilliant news for the American investors. I'm sure they prefer the sort of a steroids version that you'll get in the Champions League in terms of the financial benefits that Rangers would stand to gain from it. But I think there's a valid argument there that in terms of the growth of the team on the pitch, maybe the Europa League might be a better place for them right now. But this is so early days in what Russell Martin's trying to put together. I think he'll want to sign 4 or 5, probably more new players to bring into this squad, to bring into his starting 11. And he's still got to work on the training ground every day, try to drill into the players that are there just now exactly how it is that he wants this team to look and go about their business, because it is a big change. There's no doubt about that. What he's trying to implement is a big change, and it's a lot of information for these players to take on board.
Mm-hmm.
Problem with it, Daniel, I'll be honest with you, it looked to me as if tonight they were confused as to what it is that they were actually trying to do. And the rare moments in the first half when they did get up the pitch, there was a real lack of sort of, I don't know, purpose about what they were doing getting into the final third. It was almost as if they hadn't planned for it. When they did have possession, they were keen to go back the way and round the houses, and they continually played themselves into trouble, and Panathinaikos pounced on them. That can't be what Russell Martin has in his mind for this team. It can't be, because it's not going to work if that's what it is. So I just think it's going to need more time, more work in the training ground. A lot of hours will need to go into it, because I think they're some way away from where Russell Martin would want them to be right now.
Gary is one of a few Rangers fans pointing out that the biggest game is on Saturday at 5:30. Obviously, their opening league game against Motherwell away. That's a tough one itself. That's a pretty hard game to start with, I would suggest. But you mentioned signings, Keith, and I wanted to get your take on that before we wrap up. Obviously, there's been reports today on Record Sport Online that Connor Cody's been approached by Wrexham. We know that was one that was in the offing for a long time for Rangers. How many more players do you think? I know you said 4 or 5 to come in potentially to the starting 11, but how many more players realistically do you think Russell Martin will want to add in the next, before the transfer window shuts?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
I really do. I think he'll want at least 2 more wingers. I think the centre forward situation probably needs to be resolved. Certainly needs to be resolved one way or the other. They're either keeping Egeman and Dessers, or they're selling one or both. So there's an issue that needs resolved. And I think, straight from the off with Connor Cody, we know that it was actually quite far down the line in terms of Rangers being committed to signing him being committed to wanting to go to Rangers. So it's interesting that it's not done yet, and it's interesting that Wrexham, who've obviously got a few quid, it's interesting that they've re-emerged as a potential. So you wonder what's going on with that one. I'm pretty sure that Russell Martin will want an extra and an experienced operator at the heart of that defence. I didn't think John Souttar had his best night tonight in terms of in possession, but again, I come back to it. He's been asked to build from the back and play out from the back, and it just looked to me as if Rangers were a little bit confused as where they should be and what they should be doing in that final third. So it was problematic for John Souttar. He was trying to drill passes into Danilo. Danilo was struggling to control it. The ball kept coming back the way. But in terms of what John Souttar did defensively and what he did previously in the first leg at Ibrox, I think he's been a standout in terms of getting his head on things, blocking things, and a massive performance defensively from John Souttar over 2 legs, and which is why, you know, there was such confusion about the timing of his operation at the end of last season, because it's difficult to envisage how Rangers would have got through those two legs against Panathinaikos had John Souttar had a hiccup with his rehab and hadn't been available to play in these games.